Southwestern New Mexico is noted for its silver mines, which cause boom towns to start up and ghost towns to follow. And today we're going to take you on a trail to show you some of New Mexico's greatest ghost towns. Just 17 miles west of I-25 on State Highway 152 is the quaint village of Hillsboro.
Hi, I'm Harley Shaw. I live here in Hillsboro, and I'm standing in front of the ruin of the old Sierra County Courthouse. It was a beautiful old building in its heyday. Its main claim to fame is the site of the Albert Fountain trial back toward the turn of the 20th century. Next to the courthouse here that's behind me is also the old jail site, and of course it's the place where the people from the Fountain trial were held at the time that was going on. It's an interesting old jail made out of stone construction with iron bars. A lot of the handcrafted iron bars are still there. It's a great little town to live in. We moved over from Arizona, so we didn't come from a long ways, but we were looking for a small place. We have everything from the traditional old Hispanic homes, you know, the small adobes. Another unique architecture here, at least to me, is there are several houses that were constructed of very heavy blocks that were poured into molds from the slag at the mine mill. They're these big, heavy blocks of lava, as it were. Certainly one of the reasons we're here is that we enjoy the history of the area. It has a unique history, just the whole historic aspects, and I feel very strongly that history is an important industry, important part of New Mexico in general, and certainly of this area. It's what people come to see, and I think we need to sustain that historical aspect and perhaps learn to interpret it so people can learn what this area was like 50, 75, 100, 150 years ago.
So here we are in Kingston, which is just a few miles down the road from Hillsboro, and this is a classic example of a late 19th century silver boom town that just crashed. The town was founded in 1882 after a rich lode of silver ore was discovered by miner Jack Shelton, and very quickly the population grew to over 7,000. Just 11 years later, the price of silver dropped 90%, and overnight, this town all but vanished. Today, about 25 people live there. You can see several historical buildings, including the Percha Bank, complete with its ornate lobby and teller windows, and classic Old West Bank vault, once home to $7 million in silver. If you're looking for a place to stay, consider the Black Range Lodge, a bed and breakfast that in the old days was a casino and saloon. Well, now we know that most ghost towns were caused by mining booms and busts, but here in Cuchillo, we're going to bring a whole new meaning to the term ghost town.
The old Cuchillo Bar and Store has housed the post office, general store, mercantile, stables, hotel, and this bar you see here. This place has been investigated by a lot of paranormal investigators here in New Mexico and Arizona, and actually had people from California travel out to investigate it, and it's been confirmed haunted by pretty much every group that's been out here. One group did catch a gravelly old voice here in the bar that one of the neighbors swears is one of the old locals that frequented the bar here.
When I heard the EVPs on Josh's website, I even told my daughter and my son, I said, I know that voice. And I let my daughter listen to it, and she says, yeah. And I said, I know that's Siriaco. It sounds, he's got a very gravelly, gruff voice. And the word he used on there was very much like him. So I'm convinced that that's him.
Since I moved here, I've had a lot of unexplainable and strange events happen, and that's sort of what prompted me to call some investigators. I was looking for a scientific point of view. I live out here. I have a lot of work to do to restore these buildings, so I rationalize and write stuff off daily just to keep my sanity and not spook myself too bad, so I can finish my project here.
Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the old Cuchillo Bar is a fascinating place to visit. About 20 miles west of Cuchillo is Chloride, one of the best preserved ghost towns I've ever seen. Well, here we are in Chloride with Don Edmond, and Don, you've undertaken the task of restoring this old town.
Well, we're trying, my wife and I, and our daughter recently joined us, and we're trying to save the history. It's an important little town. It was a silver town, silver boom town.
And I understand that one of the buildings here, anyhow, had been closed up for 50 or 60 years, is that right?
This building here, the Pioneer Store, was built in 1880 by a man by the name of Dalglish, a Canadian. Ran it all through the boom years and then released for a few years to local people. In 1923, the outfit that owned it closed it up. They sent their young son back east to be educated. They thought Chloride would have a resurgence, and if he had an education, he'd need a business. They sealed the building with everything in it. He went back east to become a nuclear physicist, and he married a woman from Brooklyn. He didn't come back.
So tell us what you thought the first time you opened the doors and you saw all of this great stuff inside.
I met him by accident here in the street in 1978, I think it was. And we hit it off, and he invited my wife and I to take the tin boards off the back door and crawl in. And it was amazing. It was full of bats, thousands of bats all over. All the old stuff was there from the 1880s, 1890s, the food stuff on the shelves, the tools, saddles, everything a Pioneer Store needed to have was there. And this is the bank, built in 1884 to be the bank. It's made of native rock, as you can see. It didn't open as a bank. This town, like all silver towns, was cash starved. So it opened as a saloon. It made the ninth saloon in Chloride. They advertised in the local newspaper, "Come to the bank to get your liquor." This was the first building in Chloride, this little log cabin. This was built by Pye. Pye was the original finder of silver. He was a freighter with the Army. Freighting through here one night, the story is he found float down here in the canyon, finished his contract, come back in here with two men. This was Indian territory. Came back in here with two men, and they built this cabin for shelter and then started a mine just up the canyon. Pye, unfortunately, was killed about 3 months after he got here.
Cabin survives, and if I wanted to rent it today,
it's a rental cabin.
I can come up for a weekend.
It's a vacation cabin. It's 2-bedroom. It's fully equipped. All you got to do is bring your groceries and your pajamas.
Awesome.
This is the hanging tree. We asked the old timers when we got here. They referred to it as a hanging tree, and so we asked them what the status was, why, and they told us that there was a well and a horse tank on this side of the tree. And when the young cowboys or miners came to town, if they got too inebriated and too rambunctious, they'd dunk them in the tank and chain them to the tree until they realized the error of their ways.
So a hanging tree that nobody
hung from by the neck, as near as we could tell, yes.
Well, this is certainly a great little project that you've undertaken here to keep this part of New Mexico heritage alive, and I compliment you on that. And you're open year-round for people to come and visit, aren't you?
7 days a week, from 10 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, except for Thanksgiving and Christmas. We're just pleased to have people come in.
Well, your stories have been great for us today. We appreciate you sharing them with us.
Well, thank you.
We've only shown you today about this much of what's really available to see in ghost towns across New Mexico. But remember, a lot of these ghost towns are on private property, and you need to be respectful of that. So take only pictures and leave only footprints when you visit the great ghost towns of New Mexico.